Welcome, everyone. I'm currently away on vacation and will be back Wednesday, October 22nd. Today, your host will be Søren Basher. Søren runs his own investment advisory firm called Brilliant Advice.
Welcome to the Brighter with Sørenberg show. And my guest today is Joe Bakhti. It's good to have you back, Joe.
Great to be back. I'm very honored to have the second show already with the famous Sørenberg.
My reputation precedes me at this point, I think. Yeah.
We were speculating if you are the first or distant cousin of Dilbert.
That's right. That hasn't been proven yet, but I'm sure the internet will do its thing to root that out.
You can do it 23andMe with Dilbert.
Right. That's right. I'm not sure I'm willing to subject myself to that, but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, so in this show, we're going to cover a lot of different AI topics. And the first one is kind of interesting from XAI. And the comment here is that there are a few simple prompt tricks you can use to make videos like this in Grok Imagine, and we'll show the video here in a second. And Elon's comment is soon, this will be very easy to do. So let me just bring this video up. And there's no sound with the video, but basically it's a series of prompts to create, what will eventually be AI movies.
And that was done with Grok?
Yes, Grok Imagine. And I'll just play it again just in case people missed the first part.
It's crazy.
So, Joe, do you think we're going to see an explosion of creative content?
Well, I think first I have to disclose I'm not a video maker guy, but recently I just looked into Grok Imagine, not even systematically, I just clicked on it randomly. And I was a little bit blown away. My mind was a little blown away because the entire interface, the way it works so intuitively, and they're generating massive amounts of very cool pictures very quickly. You click on a picture and then it turns it into a video. So it's like the future. Also the interface, the inference speed is completely out of this world. It's like probably 1,000 times, I'm not even kidding, it's 1,000 times faster than ChatGPT. So for me, it just means, just tactically looking at this, how glad we can be to have entrepreneurs like Elon and Sam Altman. I'm always the guy who mentions Sam, everyone hates him, but still, he does also cool stuff. And then Zach sitting there, at some point, he's going to do something cool. So to have these kinds of minds on this, and then Elon coming out of left field all the time, like the amount of unexpected, crazy innovation we are witnessing right now is nuts. And it just, on a meta level, just tells me people underestimate the speed of AGI and AI development. They just underestimate it because it's not just the conventional exponential curve, but it's these out of left field disruptive innovations that constantly happen in this deadly competitive battle of some of the smartest minds humanity has ever seen, sitting on billions and trillions of dollars now. So it's just, for me, another testament. I'm observing ChatGPT and Grok, the core product, very closely and lovable, like these coding systems, because I'm very involved there. And I'm not paying attention to video. And the fact that I'm not paying attention and then just click on something randomly and my mind is blown, just tells me, dude, do we even understand what's going on out there? There's like a mass wave of insane innovation.
The interesting thing to me, Joe, is that instead of people having to learn to program computers have learned to understand our language. And so then we can effectively create this with our language. And that's amazing because now you're bringing that to literally everybody that can speak or type or write a prompt now will have these tools at their disposal to create whatever they can imagine.
In 2 years, I thought you were going to say the magic sentence that Sørenberg is going to say in 2 years. Instead of humans learning how to program computers learn how to program humans.
Well, that's right.
And that's probably going to happen, but that's the next stage. So yeah, I mean, we have basically created machines now that we can easily interact and program, but I was not even kidding. We are in the middle of that transition, like humans coding machines, on the other side, machines coding humans. And we are right now in the middle. There's like, oh, it's so amazing. This machine doesn't even need to instructions. Like, yeah, because it's flipping the whole situation.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one. So Nvidia has come out with their new DGX Spark, which is the world's smallest AI supercomputer. just yesterday, Jensen visited Elon at Giga Texas and gave him probably one of the first ones. It's a petaflop of performance in a box that fits on a desk. Now, it's interesting because in 2016, Jensen gave Elon and OpenAI the first AI supercomputer, DGX-1. And this is interesting, Joe. The DGX-1 back then cost $129,000. Do you have any idea what the DGX Spark costs?
I think 5,000.
It's about $4,000, right? So it's equivalent performance. But the other thing that's important, though, is it has a 100 times more compute per watt. And I think Elon makes that comment here in his post. So it's pretty amazing. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting here is on the box itself, there's an inscription from Jensen. And Jensen wrote, "From a single spark, a world of intelligence." And it's kind of funny because that was written quite nicely. Then Elon grabs, I guess, a pen, and he scribbles something on here. Yes. And he writes, "To Jensen, ad astra, to the stars."
I mean, it's very cool. And it's also very symbolic that Jensen goes to Elon, gives him this thing, of course. And I was observing the Spark for a long time because I was very interested in it. And I think what's happening is so exciting and cool for anyone who's interested in the future, because the DGX Spark represents something much, much bigger than people understand. Right now, all of the inference is in the cloud. And what is the future? And I just saw this interview with Broadcom, the executives, and OpenAI with Sam Altman and Greg Brockman. And Greg Brockman said, basically, the way to think about GPUs is each human needs at least one GPU, your personal GPU. And that can be in the cloud, but it can also be on your desk because you want to own this. You don't want to share your second brain.
It'll be here eventually.
Yeah, maybe, or it will definitely be there. But maybe on top of it, you want to have your second super brain in your living room because you want to own it. You don't want to have some Sam Altman like dabbling around with your cables in your mega brain. So the DGX Spark is basically the first step into that future powered by Nvidia, where you say, don't trust would you store your brain in Sam Altman's safe? Like, no, you want your brain on your neck. And if you have a second brain, at least next to your bed or something. And I think maybe it sounds funny, but I don't think it's too funny. And I think people, once you have these amazing applications and you don't need internet anymore for it, you plug it into this thing on your desk, people will spend $5,000. They will spend 20,000. They will spend 100,000 on it. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting future because these are literally super brains that you can own.
It's amazing, isn't it? So, Joe, help us understand here what OpenAI is doing. So they announced a partnership with Broadcom to deploy 10 gigawatts of chips designed by OpenAI. So OpenAI is getting into the chip design business, much like Nvidia.
Yeah.
And they're partnering with Broadcom, which has a little bit different architecture than what Nvidia does. So I was wondering if you can sort of help us understand what's going on here.
This is my favorite topic. So basically, OpenAI is saying there is no limit to inference compute need that we have as a company and that our users have. If we had 30 gigawatts of compute, which is insane, we still could fill it up today, not even to speak of next year. And they have 2 gigawatts right now. What they basically said internally is we need all of the above. And the above are 3 things. Nvidia, they struck a deal of 10 gigawatts with Nvidia. AMD is the little competitor of Nvidia because they can manufacture also chips and it's hedging your bets. So AMD and Nvidia are pretty much competitive. And OpenAI did 6 gigawatts with AMD and getting 10% of AMD, by the way, and 10 gigawatts from Nvidia and offering Nvidia in return some equity, which is interesting. Now the Broadcom play are 10 gigawatts, and Broadcom is a very interesting company. I think a little underrated, even though it's also 1.5 trillion. It's like insane. You turn your back for a second on a company, it's 1.5 trillion. It's the size of Tesla. So Broadcom is a very interesting kind of under the radar company that only does B2B. They're doing chip development for the giants, for the hyperscalers, for Amazon, for Google, for Microsoft. And what they innovated as a company, and Sam mentioned that and Greg Brockman, they basically enabled companies to do custom chip design on an Nvidia level by basically making it convenient, right? And super modular and everything. They basically productized chip development. So it's super sophisticated. And we have to understand that the central advantage of Nvidia isn't even hardware, it's mostly software. It's CUDA. It's a famous development environment. And why do you need CUDA? Because if you're a developer, you cannot like machine code GPUs, then you go nuts. So you need a very robust software that can translate all your code and compile it and do all kinds of stuff. But the one type of user who doesn't need that are hyperscalers, because they have the capability to do it themselves, Google and even Meta and Microsoft and OpenAI to some extent too. So basically then you can cut out all the margin, go to Broadcom and do a custom chip and build your own software system because your stack is fixed, right? You're not like some random developer. You're one of the top 4 AI companies in the world, so you have your developers. Now on top of that, similar to what AI6, the Tesla and Samsung deal is for Optimus and Robotaxi. If you have a very specific vertically integrated application like Optimus robots or Robotaxis, you're in a very specific, uniquely positioned spot as Tesla to vertically integrate everything, the application stack, the software stack, the operating system stack, and the chip. And if you can design the entire stack, including the hardware and the chip with Samsung, you can do magical stuff, because then everything flows. And the same is true for OpenAI. So OpenAI has basically identified all kinds of different use cases for chips that they have. Training, general inference, and specific inference. And what they determined is there's a giant gap in the middle where they're missing a custom chip. And now Broadcom has the capability of enabling them to actually do custom chip development. So they're very excited to have this vertically integrated solution where they are tying a Broadcom chip and the switches and everything. Broadcom does the whole thing now, but custom designed underneath a specific OpenAI stack. And that has tremendous opportunities. So Sam Altman describes it as how many tokens per gigawatt do you get? Tokens per watt. Because tokens are the end measurement, right?
Right.
For them. And they say Broadcom, once they are done with Broadcom, no one can compete. Even though he said nice things about Nvidia and AMD too. He said, oh, they're great. But basically, it's a double play, in my opinion. It's a vertical integration play similar to Tesla AI6 and Samsung. And it's a supplier hedging bet that he wants to have all three on board, all three giants, AMD, Nvidia, and Broadcom. So because he needs all the chips he can get, plus he has the option to develop like some super system with Broadcom, which is super cool when you think about it, what's happening.
How is XAI positioned in this environment then? Do they need to do similar deals with these other players, AMD and Broadcom as well? Or do you think that their relationship with Samsung is sort of meeting I guess it's Tesla's relationship with Samsung that we're talking about, not so much XAI. I guess I'm just curious about your thoughts of XAI's positioning vis-a-vis what OpenAI is doing here.
This is also a very, very important and interesting topic. And I sometimes get some slack from the Tesla fans who kill me, Elon fans, when I say that OpenAI is like 100 times more powerful than XAI right now on a product side, right? They have 800 million users and they're making insane amounts of money. They're literally 100 times bigger or 50 times bigger than XAI, than Grok. So they are way far ahead of everyone in terms of owning the enterprise and consumer AI space, like by light years. And that means they have a demand for inference that vastly exceeds anything that anyone else, including Grok, has. Now, does it mean Grok is losing? I think definitely not, because Elon might have a completely different plan. When he talks about AI, he's not talking about, we want to beat OpenAI in UI and UX and productization in people's homes or enterprise. He talks about AGI and ASI, and he talks about empowering Tesla, empowering the discovery of new science and new technology. And I think by the nature of Elon, I think XAI versus OpenAI is a hardcore eye of the storm LLM and AGI product for humanity. That's how it's designed. Whereas XAI is designed of two things. First of all, to be the fun AI for Elon, where he does crazy things that are just fun. And then the AGI and ASI for Elon's empire. And that is very interesting because I do think you have to make decisions as a manager, as a leader. And I think that puts them into different trajectories.
Mm-hmm.
I think OpenAI is destined to control, the entire economy of AGI as an economy. And XAI is this kind of moonshot that probably will work, where it's very geared towards being at the leading edge of intelligence to actually get the fastest to a world where you can literally tell it, design a better gigafactory, determine better material science, find out a new physics principle that allows me to shoot these rockets to the moon faster. And of course, if Elon pulls that off, it's totally game over. And I do think OpenAI will not be competitive on that deep level if they don't focus on it, everything. And so I think XAI might win that race, but OpenAI might be a $100 trillion company. So I think these are the fundamentally philosophically different paradigms here.
Is another way to think about it, Joe, if we look at OpenAI, it's AI that uses agents to control existing systems and apps, right? Agent can make a travel booking and order food and all that stuff and make everything behind the scenes do that for you using existing systems. It seems what Elon is trying to do with macro hard as part of XAI is get rid of those existing systems completely. To say we don't need those, we don't need human coded software anymore. We don't need apps. We don't need any of these programs. We just use the AI to create it all on the fly. Is that kind of another way to look at the difference between OpenAI and XAI?
Yeah, I think that is a difference, but I would go deeper on the philosophical level what these companies are. I think, and they flow from the leader, Sam versus Elon. Who is Sam? Sam is not a technologist. Sam is not even the most successful entrepreneur. Sam is the guy who ran Y Combinator very successfully. He was a smart investor. Sam is the ultra commercial animal. Of course, he loves power too, but who doesn't? So he sees a world where he controls the economy and fuels the entire global economy with AI by servicing everyone and getting everyone's money and then controlling it. That's Sam's vision. Elon's vision is different. Elon also wants power, but a different type of power. Elon sees his visions, which are much more distinct. I want to go to Mars and build cities. I want to have complete autonomous vehicles, global infrastructure. I want to own all the robots, and I want to have macro hard, which knocks out the entire software industry. So he does not think like a productizer. He thinks in verticals he wants to own and control and expand. And that is what these AIs are for. For Sam, the AI is the product. He wants to have the best AI product in the world and own the AI industry. For Elon, he doesn't care too much about that. He wants the magic intelligence that empowers him to take over any industry he wants himself, which is different. So Elon wants to own all robots. He wants to own global transportation. He wants to own all spaceships and Mars. And he wants to own all software. And he wants to own healthcare. But not in the way that he services the healthcare industry with a cool product. He wants to own the industry and operate it. And he knows he needs a pretty big brain, bigger even than Elon's brain, probably 1 trillion times bigger. And he knows how to get it. So I think this is really my theory, what's going on here. One is the productizer of AI, and the other wants to literally extend his brain with a giant mega AI with Grok to literally say, Elon wants the shipping industry. He wants everything in 3 years, figure out how. And then goes, oh, yeah, the Chinese suck in shipbuilding. I'd make it better. Boom, here's all your ships.
Right.
And so this is the guiding principle behind the AI development. It's a different path, very different path. Because then Elon doesn't care about users and inference and everything. He cares about what training level and inference level do I need to make this brain push into beyond the boundaries and own science and technology. Whereas Sam thinks, how do I have to partner up with all these companies and own all the inference to service every human so they pay me $200 a month? It's a very different situation.
Yep. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. So we're going to go from those very big brain thoughts down to something that's minutia, but it's also kind of interesting. We have new Autopilot Viz assets apparently coming. We have instead of just a truck that's everything that's large, we now have an ambulance. We'll have a fire truck. We have a garbage truck. We have a school bus, and the list goes on. We have a European semi truck, one with the front flat
Is this
front.
like pulled out of, is this real? Is it pulled out of the actual display, or who's green?
Yeah, Greenly only is a person that seems to have access to the source code for some reason. I'm not sure how or why.
Oh, it's the guy who leaked the websites. Yeah, he's hacking the stuff somehow. So he says these are real assets. It's not fantasy. It's
correct. Right. Golf cart, scooter, skateboard. The list goes on. Stroller, street sweeper, three-wheeler, trailer. Basically, the message here is basically it's going to be unlimited, and it's going to be exactly what the object is. It's not just going to be limited to these, although maybe initially. A train, a tram, a wheelchair, and then the scene with dynamic objects. If this was the roadway with a train in the middle here and so on, different shaped objects.
I mean, it's basically back to the big brain discussion, because that's exactly it. It's a little bit Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates. By the way, we still don't know who won. In my opinion, Bill Gates ultimately won, because now Microsoft is winning. But in between, Steve Jobs won. So Elon is more like Steve Jobs. He controls and owns his product universe and builds this amazing thing. For example, FSD, like conscious cars. Pretty cool. Where Sam Altman is like Bill Gates. He says, well, I don't care about any specific product too much. I just want to service. I want to create a platform for all the other people to create their amazing products. And for me, this is one of the great historic paradigms of leadership. They both work and they are completely different. Trump, for example, is also more like Steve Jobs or Elon. He's like, I hate this thing. I call this guy now and I make sure it happens. Whereas other people are more like, I don't know, Thomas Jefferson or someone's like, well, we need to build the system and then people will figure it all out. We just have to ensure there's freedom, right? So neither one is wrong, right? They have totally different profiles and totally different strengths and weaknesses. And in the end, it's about the leader. A super Steve Jobs will always handily beat a weak Bill Gates, but a super Bill Gates will easily beat the weak Steve Jobs. So in the end, it's just different styles. We have to see who's stronger. But this is the stuff that I mean. Elon has this vision. He knows what he wants. He wants Robotaxi to be perfect, conscious, see everything, know everything, display everything. But it's not a customer of Elon. It is Elon. It's like, I want the Robotaxis. And my intelligence should feed this beast. And then the next beast and the next beast and the next beast.
Interesting. Yeah, those are really interesting thoughts. All right. Well, moving on then to another interesting topic. Hot debate among Tesla fans is advertising. So apparently in the Melbourne, Australia airport, we have an advertisement. Again, this is unique. I think we've seen this in Japan and plenty of other places. And the advertisement says some buttons start cars, others start the future. And it says start full self-driving supervised. So they're trying to market a little bit to Australians about the idea of that cars can drive themselves.
I just had an idea, CERN. I nearly said CERN, but CERN. I have an idea how we sell. So look, advertising is super annoying and boring for anyone who loves tech and advancements, because, dude, it's advertising. It's like segmentation. No, conversion is 1% higher if you do this ad here. It's like, of course, it destroys Elon's brains. Like, what are you? I can't. But I know now how you sell advertising to Elon. I just had the idea. I can make us billions now as shareholders. Finally, we can know how to sell it to Elon. You have to sell advertisements as Grok Imagine to Elon.
There you go. Yeah.
Elon, why don't you create a thing where Grok Imagine creates the Tesla ads and auto-optimizes it with the most amazing things, and you can even advertise Grok Imagine with it? Then he would say, like, okay, fine, that's cool, let's do it.
Absolutely. Turn it into like a video game. Yeah.
Exactly. Then Elon would get engaged finally in advertising. Because I'm for it, but I understand Elon. If I was Elon, I wouldn't touch advertising, but just for personal, because I hate it. But it makes a ton of sense. We should do advertising strategically as Tesla.
Right.
So maybe Grok, maybe someone listens from Tesla, from leaders from the board. Tell Elon, here's an idea. Why don't you turn Grok Imagine into the Tesla advertising machine and then beat everyone in sales? That would be nice.
That would be nice. Here's another curious one for you, Joe. So Tesla is apparently running paid ads on Paramount Plus, encouraging people to vote their Tesla shares. So I guess I've done some work to discover that Tesla shareholders are watching Paramount Plus. Anyway, here's the video.
Safer, cleaner, and more enjoyable world for all. We call this sustainable abundance. Tesla is on the precipice of its next wave of transformational growth, and we need your support ahead of our annual meeting on November 6th. We urge you to follow the board's recommendations on all proposals.
pretty good, pretty crazy, the world we live in. What people forget is Tesla by a far distance is the biggest shareholder base in the world. Over 10 million people have Tesla shares. So that's why it's so exciting to do YouTube, but it's also exciting for Tesla. It's also exciting for everything. I mean, Tesla is not just an amazing tech company with a very cool dude on the top. It's also breaking ground and a path breaker, whatever you call it, for capitalism, for shareholder capitalism, because never before in history have so many people owned shares of one company and have been so excited about it, which has all kinds of ripple effects, educational ripple effects. Like now suddenly millions of people know what shareholder votes is. I mean, who knew that before? Millions of people are calling their Norwegian and German and French brokers and say, you suck, you people, you can't even allow me to vote my shares. And the brokers are completely confused and don't know what's going on. So cool stuff. That's why I like Tesla.
That's right. And here's another cool thing from my perspective, being from New Zealand originally. Tesla is now offering a discount of up to $5,000 on FST software in Australia and New Zealand, just a month after rolling it out. So here's from Sawyer Merritt, an image from the page. Shows multiple in-stock cars with FSD supervised software now have a price adjustment for almost $5,000 for Model 3 and 3,450 Australian dollars for Model Y. So trying to bring the cost of the vehicle down in those markets.
Very interesting. I just did a video yesterday on Tuesday on Tesla, on the affordable models, and what people completely overlooked because we are so US centric. Everyone's like, it's so lame. The affordable model is $39,000 and the Model Y standard rear-wheel drive is $44,500. It's only $5,000 cheaper. I went to the European websites, to Germany and France as the main markets, and you look at these prices, and the affordable model in Germany is 10,000 euros cheaper. It's dramatic. It went down from 50,000 euros to 40,000 euros. So very interesting. $12,000 difference versus 5,000 in the US.
Wow.
So we shouldn't, and France very similar. It's 8,000. So it's $9,500 cheaper. So all the criticism in the US about this launch goes out of the window when you look at Europe. It does exactly a best case scenario of what I envisioned for the US. I thought 10,000 in the US, but I was aware that it's like on the high end, right? And in Germany, they did $12,000. So this is very interesting. I think we have to understand Tesla is a global car and all kinds of company, right? And they think globally. All these markets are nearly equally important: Europe, US, and China. And there are three markets, not just the US. And the US has just especially tough, headwinds right now with the tax credit going away and $7,500 differential. But we have to look at the other markets and see the full impact. I think the number one target of the affordable model is Europe when you look at this, because that is dramatic. That's a 20% reduction in cost.
It's also a way, I guess, to boost the utilization of a Giga Berlin as well, I suppose, right? Get that factory up to more of its capacity.
Exactly. So I had this discussion with someone in the comments, and they said, why is it? And I think it has to do with utilization of Berlin, that the real economics might be different, right? If you have if you have all these machines sitting there. So who knows? But Tesla is smart. They will figure it out. Maybe they also determine in the US they don't even have that much of a demand issue, but they have it in Europe. So they can, and maybe it's Berlin versus Austin, who knows? So it just gives them more capacity to act, and it just gives us an adjustment calibration of our expectations. Like, this is a giant price drop.
Yeah, it's interesting. It also may relate to the fact that perhaps the supply chain for the vehicle in the US is just not quite where they need it to be yet. So maybe, further price drops are coming.
Exactly.
We'll have to see how it evolves over time. So Joe, this last one is, I sort of hate to end our show on this, but this will come as no surprise to you. And as Tesla shareholders, there's probably some happiness associated with this. But breaking news that General Motors has issued a profit warning of $1.6 billion hit for EV overcapacity. This is from AJ. GM just filed a Form 8K informing that it approved of charges of $1.6 billion in GM North America in the 3 months ending September 30th, 2025. GM expects it will be unable to sell its EVs after policy changes. This $1.6 billion charge comes only 10 months after GM recognizes $5 billion in charges in China. And then AJ adding a comment here. It is true what Biden said. Mary, you led and it matters, but we're surprised to find out that what he meant was write-off.
Well,
So-
Biden meant the same thing for Mary that is true for him. So it's like not too surprising.
Yeah, and
But-
here's the 8K report just to show you that is actually true.
I had a video covering this larger topic, I think a week ago, on Tesla versus the rest of the EV industry. What people forget, we are so mono-minded on Tesla that any time something bad happens to Tesla, we think it's the end of Tesla. What we have, like the tax credits, what we have to understand is we have to discern what actually happens only to Tesla that is bad and what happens to the industry that's bad.
Mhm.
And nearly everything bad that happened to Tesla recently was bad for the entire industry. And when it's bad for the entire industry, the real smart question to ask is, does Tesla have a negative alpha or positive alpha compared to the industry? Is Tesla getting hit harder or less hard than the industry? And every time you do this analysis, Tesla is getting hit much less hard. On the tariffs, Tesla's the car company in the United States with the highest US share of supply chain, right? So they are the least hit. Everyone else gets hit much harder. On the tax credits, Tesla has by far the greatest margins. They can just eat up that hit and still are profitable. What that means is, yeah, if you only stare at Tesla short term, it looks bad for the stock, but long term, these are all enormous positive catalysts because you're eliminating the competition. The same is true in China. We say like, oh, in China, Tesla is under enormous pressure with the margins. You're right. Guess who's way more under pressure with the margins? Every single EV manufacturer in China. So, you have to think about long game. Yeah, if everyone has deadly margin pressure and Tesla goes from 20% to 10, everyone else gets to 5% to negative 15. Well, guess what happens in 3 years? There's one man left standing, and the man is the man with a giant colossus brain in Memphis. So, and here you see it with GM, right? There will be repercussions. I had a video 1 year ago where I predicted 2026 will be the year where we see the auto industry go up in flames. Let's see if I'm right. And I'm adding the EV industry to it in China, but the ICE industry too. So very dark times are coming, very dark times for the auto industry in Europe, in the US, and in China. Tesla is the most profitable auto company in the world. That is the least dependent on autos on top of it because of energy and now optimism, now Robotaxi. So yeah, maybe times are tough, but they are the least tough for Tesla. And in the end, people will need cars unless they all switch to Robotaxi, which is also good.
Which will happen in time, I believe. Yeah. Dan Ives was talking recently about Tesla being able to produce or producing 600,000 vehicles a quarter. Are you in alignment with that?
Yes. They can definitely produce them.
This is in 2026, I think, is what he was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. The question is, can they sell them?
Yeah.
But they might be able to sell them. I'm not saying no.
Yeah.
And then we have also, one speculation just to throw it in because that's the favorite speculation of everyone. The affordable model is still out there. And today there was speculation, I think by AJ, he even retweeted, yeah, there are rumors. And I always said I didn't do a dedicated video on it, but I will very soon. The speculation about the Robotaxi and the Model Q or Model 2, whatever. And I said there is just no way in hell, there's no permutation of reality that I see where Robotaxi will not be turned into an affordable car. Because it's the ultimate intelligent hedge. You take the Robotaxi and keep it a two-seater if you need to, make it cheap, make it $25,000, put a steer-by-wire thing in there that you can replace and lease it out for 3 years. And you bridge that critical unknown gap because you cannot bet on millions of Robotaxis or even hundreds of thousands by 2027. It might totally happen and it might totally not happen because you're dependent on regulations and all kinds of stuff. I'm very bullish, but I tell you, if I had to put down $10 billion or $30 billion into a supply chain, I would not do it. I was like, dude, I can't, this is too much. If you have an affordable model that runs on the basic Robotaxi platform, you can just scale the hell out of it because either Robotaxi comes through and then you switch, or not, then you sell the affordable model. Like there's just no way this is not happening, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Joe, you can't be so sure," but like I don't see any other way. They cannot have two platforms, and if they don't do anything like that, they are completely sitting there like a sitting duck. If anything gets delayed, they have a giant year-long problem, multi-year problem. So why take the risk? It's not rocket science, in my opinion, to turn the Robotaxi into an actual car.
I suppose one milestone for that is the day that France leaves is a signal that they're done designing cars for consumers, right?
Yes.
They probably wouldn't need him around if they don't need his design expertise to design new models and new vehicles.
And I don't think he's going to leave next year. So
there's a recent interview with him where he talked about the new models and new vehicles that they're designing. So he used, vehicles plural.
Yeah, and I have all these discussions because a lot of people get carried away. They're total fans. Say, "Oh, Joe, you underestimate how amazing Tesla is and FSD. You don't even understand how amazing it is." It doesn't matter how amazing it is. Are you really going to bet $30 billion in supply chain to scale Robotaxi in 2026 without having any evidence that you're allowed to do that? It's insane. So if you don't do it, what are you going to do? You want a hybrid solution where you can actually scale Robotaxi without being dependent on Robotaxi approvals, and that's the solution. And if you don't do it, well, then you're just sitting there. You can't scale. You can't start scaling with Robotaxi, and you have nothing else to scale. It's a giant problem. But if you do it, you win on all fronts. Then you have also millions of affordable vehicles in the market. You could lease them out so they come back into the fleet in 2028, in 2029. Then you have your Robotaxi fleet, and you actually already own it. It's like the perfect plan, in my opinion.
The one thing that I've thought about and I've talked about a little bit is this idea: if there's problems in introducing Robotaxi and tell the markets they want to introduce them to, at least they have Texas. They could pursue as a backup a dominate Texas plan strategy where you just flood the market with Robotaxis and destroy vehicle ownership in Texas. That market could probably absorb a few million cars, right?
Well, yeah,
if you drove the price down enough.
Over time, but when you actually put together the need for this, like if you build Robotaxis out really, really out, you can manufacture 200, 300, 400, 500,000 in Austin. Like you can't deploy Robotaxis at that scale in that time frame, like in 2026 and 7, even if Texas would play along. But good luck convincing all the Texans within like months to drop all their cars. So this is all strategically true, but it's not tactically true. It's not true by Christmas 2026.
If it was cheap enough, you could. But you're right. There is a time frame involved here that it does take some time to drive down those costs, and then of course convince people. And of course, people will probably continue to use their vehicle as long as the vehicle is useful.
Yeah.
Although there does come a point where if you could drive down the cost low enough, where it's cheaper than vehicle ownership, right? And Elon's talked about this many times. That opens that opportunity up to essentially the entire market.
Yeah, but you also don't want to put yourself into too much of a financial risk situation as a company like this, right? So that's why I think my strategy is still by far the sanest, where you say like, well, we need to hedge our bets, because if we hedge our bets like that, in every scenario we win. If Robotaxi is faster than people expect, well, we just switch completely to Robotaxi. But if it totally gets delayed, we just pump out affordable models like crazy for $25,000 and maybe lease them out for $199 a month. So we are preparing a giant fleet that we still own. And then in 2029 or 2030, when we scale into millions of Robotaxis, they're already there. But if you don't do that, you're like trapped. If you I just go through it. If I was the CEO of Tesla, Cernbert pitches me like, "Oh, Joe, don't worry, just flood 2 million Robotaxis into Texas. I'm sure we can just make it happen by 2027. I was like, Cernbert. I don't know if I can sleep if I do that. It might destroy my company if anything goes wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe you have a 50% chance it works. I don't want to have a 50% chance of Tesla going bankrupt.
Right.
So I don't even want to have a 20% chance. So are you 80% sure you can flood Texas within 2 years with Robotaxis and convince millions of Texans to not have cars and get the price right?
Yeah. No, and that I think you've just uncovered the reason why Cernbert is hosting the show and not working at Tesla.
Who knows?
So, Joe, on that note, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion today, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.